everybody, and welcome along to a bit of a Creator Series post-mortem. Now, if you didn't see Creator Series on the weekend and you don't want spoilers, look away now, because that's what this stream is going to be. Because, yeah, Creator Series didn't really go the best on the weekend, but I still got P5, so it could be a hell of a lot worse. And frankly, I was very close to getting P3. If it wasn't for some very aggressive defending by Ben, I maybe could have got P3, and P4 was sort of in the bag as well. So there was a skill issue. There was undoubtedly a big skill issue. There was lots of mistakes on my end, but I also want to figure out what we're missing in terms of setup. So yeah, today we'll do some setup testing, see how much time we lost for setup, but hopefully give us some confidence going into future races. And yeah, bit of a post-mortem. This will tell us how much time has been found with setup evolution on the time trial leaderboards. Most of my setups that I've got saved are from, I think it's June last year, end of June. I went through every single track and saved a setup for every single track in the whole game. So I was running 28 front suspension, normally run 41, normally max that out. And that is the key difference really that we're going to assess today. Let's just have a little look actually. Let's have a look at Thomas Ronhar's setup from October. So it's still several months old now. And sure enough, maxed out front suspension stiffness. Wings also a lot higher, 38.28. What? The rest is exactly the same pretty much. I think they might be 2 clicks higher. That's 1 click higher. It's basically exactly the same. So I was right. The only difference is going to be the suspension screen and then the wing screen to sort of counteract that. So anyway, let's do a few laps on the setup that I ran. Would like to set a PB if I can. Oh, that was early on the throttle. Just still on the throttle and hoped it would stick. It did not. Oh, it just feels really slidey all of a sudden. Now, I will say time trial does get worse over time. I do want to do a video on that, actually investigating that. That probably is flat. Nice. That's the first sector I've done. Ah, slow. Slid through there. Whoa. That's probably fast, annoyingly. That lever rotation we just had through there, that probably is a quick way to do that corner. Couple of stabs at the throttle. This could be the one, but we know that current PB, which I think is Ben, is very quick in this final chicane, so we'll see. Deep. Please beat it. I think I'm okay. Alright, that'll do. So that's my PB right now. 26.7. That'll do with that setup. Let's go try a different setup, shall we? That's obviously different. That's gone up massively, we know that. That's exactly the same. That's gone up by 1. That's exactly the same. The ride height's more different than I expected, though. 33.40 is the new one. And then the wings as well. So 36.31 is what I'm running now. And the new one is 38.28. So the front wing's higher, the rear wing's lower. This is quite a different setup. Oh, through there is a joke. I don't know why it's different through there, but through there, the front end bites like you would not believe. It's really interesting, actually, these differences. That's too deep. Feels better over those curbs. The ride height, being slightly higher at the rear, feels better over those curbs. I can ride the curbs better, for sure. Let's try and actually improve now, shall we? See, mid-corner, it bites a lot better. Like, this next one feels nice and day. Like, the front end just goes in there. It's so well behaved. Can ride that curve better. Bit slow through there. On throttle early to try and counteract it. That was okay. Oh, are you joking? Am I seeing that right? We can find 3/10. Excuse me? How much? Right, anyway, so what we're going to do now, guys, we're going to figure out which part of the setup is the bigger difference, right? First thing we're going to do is adjust the wings, right? So compared to the setup we're running in Creator Series, we've increased the front wing, decreased the rear wing, right? But I think with the rest of the setup, I think this will be too unstable. It's actually better than I thought. We've just found time, sector 1. Oh, understeer. Even with this extreme wing setup, I can feel understeer with the suspension settings. Honestly, wing level, drivable. I thought it was going to be horrendously unstable. It's alright. Interestingly, this corner feels worse with the setup. This one feels better. I'm pretty much flat through there. This one feels worse with this setup. So now we've got everything with this setup is identical to the new time trial setup, apart from this, okay? I want to investigate ride height first. So 36.38 is what we were running. What the new time trial setup is 33.40. So we're going 3 down on the front and 2 up on the rear. That's a massive difference. Higher on the rear, unless you're bottoming out, should make you have worse downforce on the rear. Okay, understeer. Understeer, understeer, understeer. Without making the required suspension tweaks along with it so far, understeer is help. So it could definitely run curves better. No doubt about that. But that's, you know, not a surprise. The rear's higher, it's the rear that bottoms out. Massive understeer though. First set felt horrible with this. More rake equals more stable in this game. That's interesting because the higher off the ground you are, the less downforce you have. That's definitely what I felt there. So let's try dropping that down to 38 and see how that feels. Oh, okay. Okay. I'd say that is an improvement. Slightly. It's just not as lazy. Oh, lots of understeer through there. Lots of understeer through there. This is interesting. So I'd say my conclusion for ride height is, compared to the setup I was running Creator Series, this is now closer to the ground on the front, which gives you a better front end because the front is close to the ground, so you get a bit more downforce. Like chat was saying, and I agree with what I felt, the more rake you run, the more stable the car is. So for example now, if I whack that down, 4 more clicks, right? So we'll just try this just as a little test. 4 more clicks. So now the front and rear ride height is almost level, so there's not much rake at all in the car. Whoa, whoa. We definitely would have gotten power there. That was less stable. Whoa, yep. That'll get you. I'd say, yeah, I mean, stable is the right word for it. It is less stable now, but less stability can mean good grip. But it feels good. If the car feels good until you get to the exits. That wasn't happening before. You guys are right. You guys have nailed it. Stability. If the car is misbehaving on exit, just increase the rear ride height a little bit. Now we're on to the suspension setup. So we ran 28.861, right? The new time trial setup is 41.871. We're going to keep the ride height where it was. We've actually lowered that compared to what we were in a second ago. But we're going to increase this by 13 clicks. Yes, that feels alive now. When I stand on the power there, the car comes to life. That's mad. That's absolutely mental. That was pretty much flat. It is lively. I can see why the time trial setup has got an increased rake. Because it is a bit lively. That's just barely a lift. I'd say it's a bit more on the nose. So it's a bit more unstable. But that's what you want. You don't want, you know, this F1 game tends to understeer a lot. You don't want understeer. That feels so much better there. That really turned there into there. Oh, that's 4-wheel sliding, but we get away with it. That's probably flat. Again, that is so much better with this front suspension stiffness being high. I don't think it's because it's high necessarily, actually. I think it's because there's a big difference between the front stiffness and the rear stiffness. I think that's the main thing. Let's test that. So I believe that will feel horrible. There you go. There you go. Too much. So now let's put that on 20. This should have the opposite effect. If I'm right, this should have the opposite effect. So it should feel alright through high speed, to be fair, because it's stiff. It feels a lot more stable. It's actually, yeah, a bit of understeer through there. It's turning quite well. It's turning better than I expected, honestly. But it's definitely more stable there. The car's not sliding. If I had that exact speed with that exact throttle position, with that exact steering torque input with the previous setup, I'd have spun for that last corner. No doubt. No doubt in my mind. What we're going to test next, guys, is anti-roll bar. So, sort of similar to what we said before about how the car sort of rotates. I suspect the stiffer the anti-roll bar, the keener it will turn in, the less grip I'll have when it gets there. Let's try it. Whoa, that's... Okay, again, I think it's all about the delta, isn't it, between the front and rear. Oh, my word. Maybe I prefer this. I'd say it's the opposite to what I said a minute ago. I'd say it's lazier on the turn-in, but when you get there, it's got more grip, which I prefer. I'm not a huge turn-in person. I'm a give me grip when I get there person, normally. Okay, I'm just going to try the opposite. Get a feel for the difference. That felt pretty good. Oh, it's different, but I don't know how yet. Hold on. Someone help. Does anyone know? I think it is turn-in versus grip when you arrive. I think low anti-roll bar gives you better turn-in at the expense of grip when you're there, which I think makes sense physics-wise. I think low front anti-roll bar turns in better, but gives you slightly less grip when you arrive, but it's not massively different. I feel like just somewhere in the middle of that. I don't feel like... I mean, higher definitely added stability, but there's a million other ways to add stability. There's certain things that, like, across all setups, you want to make sure. So sometimes I'll load a setup, and this won't be set to that. Every single setup, I think, on every single track is full right camber, full left toe. If you're not running that, it's probably wrong. Diff as well, mostly on 50-50. Sometimes you can tweak it a little bit to help you a little bit with stability, mostly on 50-50. Tyre pressures, almost always rear at the bottom, front a little bit higher, but not by much. You always want to be right down in the bottom quarter of that tyre pressure. This is generally speaking, there may be exceptions to this, I'm not 100%, but of the setups I've seen, if I don't see those three things, I'm like, that's weird. Brake bias as well, always on 100% pressure. Generally, you don't go as low as that. Normally, you're on like 54 to 56, normally. Front ride height as low as you can get away with without bottoming out. Rear ride height as high as you need to add some stability on the corner exit. That's a simple case of that. Front suspension, as I said, mostly at the top. Rear suspension, again, generally speaking, as low as you can get away with, because the bigger difference you can have between front and rear suspension, the more rotation you'll get out of the car. But obviously, you can't have too much rotation because you'll just be spinning everywhere. So kind of put that as low as you can get away with if you've got that on max, basically. And then wings. Wings are the easy one to change. So I think, generally speaking, to be honest, if you loaded, other than the wings, if you loaded that, mostly that, there'll be small differences with the ride height and these two, and that, for every single track, you'll be quick. The biggest difference to track is going to be your wings by a mile. But anyway, I'm pretty sure if I ran this exact setup that I've got here now in Creator Series, I'd have been 2 to 3 tenths a lap quicker every single lap of a 50-lap Grand Prix. That's quite a lot. Just trying to get a feel for it here and seeing if I've now got the ability... That's slow. See if I've now got the ability to tweak it. So straight away there, a bit more understanding than I'd have wanted. I think I can handle more rotation than it's given me. Not on the exit. On the exit, on power, on a bit less, but that could just be diff. I want more rotation mid-corner, but not worse stability. Particularly, I probably want to stabilise it slightly on power. I think I want more stability on exit, so I'm actually going to increase that, because that'll give me more stability on exit. Now I want more rotation mid-corner. Probably lower that a little bit. Front rubber will make the car less responsive in Sector 1. I want more rotation. I don't care about responsiveness. I want rotation. Feel the front anti-roll bar understeering me into that corner a little bit, but... a little bit lazy on the front there, so I think this is more like I wanted though. Whoa, that's what I want to avoid. I think now we're in a space of tweaking diff. I think I do prefer that. That one click. I think I do prefer that. Now we're looking at the diff. On throttle, this probably to make it understeer more in the first sector, but I think I need a little bit of it. That might be flat. That might be flat. How? 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 Right, is it flat? It's not. I don't think it is. I hit the curb there, which washed us wide. I want a bit more rotation again. I think it's that then. We need to drop that back down. I think that'll do it. Look at it. I'm not even lifting the throttle half. I'm going down to 50% throttle for like half a second and then get back on full throttle. How is that Degda 1? There's probably a little bit too much rotation on power now. A little bit. I reckon. There you go. Good example of it. I reckon a couple of clicks of maybe diff. By dropping that out. I'm going to try increasing that. There's 2%. We now really are just tweaking. I can't believe, every time I go through there, I go, nah, it's not going to stick. How? Too much rotation. Too much rotation now. Now I'm really pushing this a little bit. I've got too much rotation. Nailed that. Nailed that. Absolutely nailed that. I don't believe esports drivers go much quicker than that through there. Lost a bit of time through there. I did do spoon very good before. No, I got desperate. I got desperate. I think I'm going to do it just. 818th. The anti-roll bar up by a couple of clicks should just stop it being quite so rotatey. The diff should just help the transition into a corner. So when I'm off throttle on the brakes, sometimes when I turn it in, it slides a bit. That should sort that out. Nice. Yeah, let's fix it. Maybe a bit cautious there, but we allowed us to get a good exit. Incredibly late on the brakes there. Over-rotated on me both on the entrance and on the exit. Very early on the brakes. Getting time though just by making sure I was then carrying the right amount of speed. There's a bit more time in there for sure. That'll do. Find another 10th. 26-1. That'll do. That'll do. So that now puts me less than a 10th away from Tom 97, which I'll take since he's a absolute time trial sweat. That was set possibly before this patch. Who knows how quick or slow this patch is. Puts me exactly 500th in the world. Still 7/10 off Thomas Ronha. But I'm having my lap. 500th in the world. Like I said, I'm really encouraged by my progress with setups. And now I know. Now I know. So, to conclude then, guys, in Create Series, there were some skill issues. That was the main thing. I bottled it. Look, my setup was probably more stable than the setup I just created there. So, actually, I should have been making less mistakes. I was making more. But, in addition, it seems I was losing 2 to 3 tenths per lap on setup alone. Next time, I won't just run a time trial setup and hope for the best. Next time, I know what to do to make a fast time trial setup. And I tell you what, I'm looking forward to Saturday. We're going to take some revenge on Creator Series. After my worst performance ever, my worst result ever in Creator Series, it's time to make some amends. This Saturday, guys, provided I get a spot, I am still officially reserved, so there may not be a spot for me, but provided I get a spot, I'm going to try and take my revenge on it, see if I can have an emphatic performance. Put it that way.